Goodness gracious me, I am Butterek. Back in 2021, Radiohead celebrated the 20th anniversaries of their 2000 album Kid A and their 2001 album Amnesiac, with a compilation of the two, including exclusive songs and alternate versions of songs from the era in Kid Amnesia. As part of a promotion for the collection, the band worked with some game devs, including Epic Games, to produce a free video game virtual museum experience in the Kid Amnesia exhibition. I actually got to checking this out around its release, and it was really sick to visit a different world, almost inside the brains of Radiohead, and seeing all the art representative of the era as well. The entire experience is accompanied by a score, being the songs of the collection in their original forms, as well as in weird, trippy, distorted ways. As cool as this game is, as a sort of unique digital archive of the band's work from this era, it wasn't a traditional game, not really following any real narrative nor any end goals, other than some Radiohead-themed Fortnite loot. And all these songs in this experience are old news, nothing new or truly original by Radiohead, just bringing these songs into a different world. But fuck Thom Yorke and Free Palestine. All that being said, I wanted to compile a list of my favorite examples in which a pre-existing band or musical outfit scored or contributed to video game soundtracks. Musical projects whose original formations did not necessarily envision such a path or deviation in their careers. I've prepared some examples, or really just soundtracks, bands, and games I'd like to shout out in the process. I think the most well-known example of a big band doing a game soundtrack has to be the 1996 game Quake, with a very, very atmospheric soundscape by none other than Nine Inch Nails. 3 studio albums deep into the band's career, Trent Reznor decided to compose a soundtrack that the band would perform for Quake. And I gotta say, it really sets an eerie tone. It's very non-musical and very haunting when paired with the intensity of Quake's hellish setting. There's no real jams on the soundtrack per se, but Nine Inch Nails does a great job at accompanying Quake with their industrial nature. Of course, Reznor would later compose numerous film scores alongside bandmate Atticus Ross, whether just the duo, like in Challengers or Queer, or even as a full band, like in the upcoming Tron film. So I'd like to believe Reznor and Ross's own adventures into scoring films was a path laid forth by Nine Inch Nails' work on Quake. Every time I play this game, I just think about how this unsettling feeling is about the same unsettling feeling Reznor and Ross provided for, say, The Social Network. When your only competitor for the top-selling game of all time is Minecraft, you ought to have a good soundtrack, though something I feel is often overlooked in terms of Grand Theft Auto V is its actual score versus songs associated with it via its in-game radio stations and other areas. It's wild that I find this to be the case, considering its score is an insane team-up between typical rock star composer Woody Jackson, rock producer The Alchemist, rapper Oh No, and the ultimate wildcard Tangerine Dream, an electronic and krautrock band founded and fronted by Edgar Froese since 1967. Their name leads on the Spotify listing, and their influence on the score is very apparent. Their electronic rock tone prevails alongside the work and production of this supergroup around them. Just listen to some of their tracks from the late 70s and early 80s. Compare that to GTA 5's soundtrack, and it sounds like they picked up right after one of their albums from decades ago. I also gotta shamelessly plug this band's insane feature on a Blood Incantation track, from last year, but looking back at GTA 5, their electronic and krautrock elements piece together the perfect soundscape for a game like this, sounding straight out the synthwave scores of 70s and 80s action crime films, something like Miami Vice as well. It brings the game to life in a cinematic way to go with the many Hollywood-esque car chases and action sequences throughout this game's story. Disco Elysium is a 2019 detective RPG developed by independent studio ZAUM, and with a team led by Estonian speculative fiction novelist Robert Kurvitz. Much like the broader detective genre across the different mediums, Disco Elysium is full of class. Despite its dystopian setting, it manages to maintain that classy quality attributable to a detective game like LA Noire or a detective film like Clue or even Howard the Duck. What makes these examples classy, though? The suits for one thing, and for another, the scores. To capture the atmosphere of the detective genre, a work needs some touch of jazz, a sprinkling of brass. That's where the band Sea Power comes into play. Sea Power is an indie rock band that fits into the label of post-rock, a genre that fuses rock instruments with other sounds typical of other genres, and very prominently in the world of post-rock is the incorporation of jazz. And not just that, there's hints of psychedelia, gospel, and even a bit of sea shanty. Sea Power melds many styles so well already, and it's stunningly ambient. Their music is hard to categorize as just one genre, breaking convention much like Disco Elysium does. And on top of all this class is Sea Power's use of strings, often haunting and upsetting, bringing the player into this world of dystopia, and now emotionally. Okay, now close your eyes and picture this. 15th century Slovakia. Knights are storming kingdoms all across the land. Catholics, Hussites, Ottomans, and even mysterious cultists. What music do you hear? Some medieval-style bard music, maybe? Wrong. It's Czech psych rock band Marcel Godot's Holy Crab. The music this band has crafted to accompany the land of Felvedek seems so strange and almost out of place. But as the alcoholic knight Pavel you are, something about it seems just right. The touch of dark fantasy in this RPG calls for a sort of magical soundscape, which Marcel Godot's Holy Crab perfectly delivers. Upbeat synth rock battle and shop tunes and weird electronic ambience for this tale's darkest points. This is one of my favorite indie games of recent times and easily one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. And it sent me down a deep rabbit hole of this band as well as other Czech psych bands. The strange places this soundtrack reaches to complement the strange places the game itself goes, especially with such offbeat humor throughout this 6 or 7 hour playthrough. Whether you're fighting battles alongside your trusty priest friend Matej, infiltrating the cult of Zervin, or helping out a butt-naked man, Marcel Godot's Holy Crab messes with strangely fitting ambience and wickedly tasty drums all around. Those are just a few examples for some great video game soundtracks that were composed by bands who might not have foreseen such a point in their career. I can think of many, many more examples, so maybe I'll do a sequel to this video or two. We'll see. Let me know if you have any favorite examples down in the comments. Maybe I'll include them in a future video on the subject. I find it really interesting and cool to see how these bands incorporate their own sounds and approach game soundtracks in their own ways, as opposed to what might be more traditional means for game soundtrack compositions. Every musician has their own unique expression and brings their own flavor to a game soundtrack in general, regardless of their background in the video game medium or lack thereof. Links to games mentioned as well as tracks used in this video are down in the description, so please go check them out. But alas, I'm still Butterwreck. Thanks for watching.
Wow.